Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Program where I am doing my best to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. When we buy a bottle of wine, we want to feel like we got the best deal for the money, whether it's $100 or $10. We are always looking for a good deal on wine. And this month I am celebrating Oregon Wine Month, which is in May, and that was new to me. Somebody on Twitter said, "Hey, you realize that May is Oregon Wine Month?" I said, "No, I did not realize that." So, out of respect for my boys down south, and of course I love Oregon wines, I am going to review wines throughout the month. It won't be the only thing I do, but definitely I'm going to review several Oregon wines, Washington wines. Today we're going to do Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris, and Chardonnay. Now Pinot Blanc, not one of my favorite varietals, I'll be honest about that. I have trouble finding good Pinot Blanc, but you know, I have found a few that I like. I just think it's kind of a boring wine. I'll just be honest, doesn't have a lot going on. But I have found some good ones recently. In particular, Irie was a good one amongst a couple others. So we're going to try one today, see how it shows. I hope you have had a chance to watch my interview with Bill Powers. I inadvertently posted the whole thing. Now this is a long interview. It was like 54 minutes. So then I broke it down into 4 segments. So now it's part 1 through 4. Each one's about 15 minutes or less, so hopefully you get a chance to watch that. Bill Powers, iconic farmer in Washington State, first one to ever go organic, and one of the few that is actually totally organic up on Badger Mountain. And he had so much to say. You know, he's a soft-spoken guy, but I think the volume was good. I think you'll get a lot out of it, just listening to him talk about how he was helped by St. Michel and how he knew Walter Clore, and many of the other things he talks about are just, they had me enthralled. I didn't actually hardly say anything because I just sat there and listened to him. It was very amazing. So hopefully you get a chance to watch that. But let's get started. Let's start off first of all with the Forest Pinot Blanc 2012, Rogue Valley, Oregon. So this is in southern Oregon where this comes out of, Rogue Valley. And a little bit warmer down there, so a lot of times you get a little bit fuller bodied wines out of the Rogue Valley. And 2012 was a great vintage, as I've mentioned before, so I'll be curious to give this one a try. Like I said, I'm not like huge on Pinot Blanc, but you know, I have an open mind. I'll try anything. You know, it's nice to be surprised, right? So let's see what we get on the nose. So just a lot of apples and pears. You know, fairly fragrant on the nose. I like that. A little bit of an herbal component coming through. Definitely a little bit of lemon. You know, it sounds like it blasts you in the face aromas, but they're there and they're good. Certainly there's some aromatics there. Mostly apple, pear, lemon would be my main thing on that one. So let's see what we get on the palate. Actually, I'm kind of impressed with that one. It's a pretty full body, like I kind of assumed it would be. It's got a nice zing across the palate. A lot of lemon, pears, and apples, exactly like you get on the nose. But it's pretty solid. I mean, it's pretty fresh. You know, a little bit of a steely element to it, which I like whenever you're drinking whites. Of course, you know, if you're having shellfish, if you're having some oysters, clams, mussels, you like to have a little bit of that freshness to your wine. You don't want them to be flabby, and this is by no means flabby. It's actually nice on the palate. Yeah, there's a little bit of a sweeter fruit element, and then it finishes off with a little bit. I get a little bit of like a apple skin, maybe lemon pith component. You know, that the pulpy part of the skin. Good balance. Actually, you know, I'm fairly impressed. $14. this might be one of the better Pinot Blancs that I have experienced. You know, it's not a hugely popular variety. I know I sell a few of them at the store, but you know, this would be worth looking up. Forest 2012 Pinot Blanc. Now, it's important that you go 2012. 11 was a little bit of a tougher vintage. You know, I think it's important vintage to taste these wines. Oregon is definitely affected by vintages more than California, perhaps even more than Washington. Oregon, because it's closer to the coast, you know, they're dealing with a temperamental grape like Pinot Noir. You know, it might be a good idea to just, you know, maybe read some reviews, look at some reviews, see how people are talking about that vintage. But this one is fantastic. I'm going to go B+ on that one. I think it's an excellent wine. Let's move on to the next one. So on the last one, and I didn't mention, on all the Pinot Noirs I did on my last episode for Oregon Pinot Noir, they all had screw caps, Stelvin closures as we call them in the wine world, Stelvin closures, but screw caps basically, which is interesting. A lot of wineries are going to that. Of course, you don't have to worry about corked wines. And since a lot of wineries are going to screw cap, the flip side to that is, you know, a lot of the cork companies are producing better cork. So some wineries are actually going back to cork because the cork is getting better. So this is Acrobat 2013 Oregon Pinot Gris.